Good day, icons. I would like to welcome you all to our subject for this semester, English 400, with a description of 21st century literature from the Philippines and the world. So by the way, I am Mr. James M. Santiago, your teacher for this first semester. So I would like to reiterate the definition of literature. So what is literature? So literature is a composition that tells a story, dramatizes a situation, expresses emotions, analyzes and advocates ideas. Also, literature is used to describe written and spoken materials. It is derived from the Latin word literature, which means writing form with letters. And also, literature divided into four genres, namely prose fiction, non-fiction prose, poetry, and drama. And literature makes us human. So under literature, we have the prose fiction, we have the non-fiction prose, poetry, and drama. So when we say prose fiction, it is based on the writer's imagination. It uses imaginary character, place, or events. When we say fiction also, the example of fictions are The Monkey and the Turtle, The Legend of Mount Mayon. So those are the examples of prose fiction. If I'm going to point out the example of prose fiction in different level, so in novels po, example po ng prose fiction under novel Without Seeing the Dawn. Sa plays naman po, example is 13th Place by Wilfredo M. Guerrero. Short story, The Laughter of My Father by Carlos Bulosan. Then sa Legends, example po ng Legends is The Bicol Legend by Pio Duran. Fable naman po, or fables. So when we say fables, it refers to animals. Animal story. So example po is The Monkey and the Turtle. When we are talking about the anecdotes, example po ng anecdotes is The Mother and the Lamb. So let's proceed now to non-fiction prose. Okay, non-fiction prose is based on facts and evidences. It uses real information. What are the examples of non-fiction prose? Example po noon is essays and biography. Next, poetry. When we say poetry, uses imagery, figurative language, sound devices, melody, and rhythm. Poetry is designed to be recited or read aloud. So drama, when we say drama, it is designed to be performed, made up of dialogue and set direction. So in drama, there are artists. We have the actors and actresses. So genre. Let us define what genre is. So when we say genre, it means artistic category or style. It characterized by a specific form, content, and styles. So forms of prose fiction. So we have what we call the novel, the novella, short story, plus fiction. So when we say novel, it is the longest type of prose. So I will show you later the example of novella. So example of novel, rather. Novella consists of more than 30 pages, while short story consists of 20 to 25 pages. Plus fiction The shortest consists of more than 1,000 but less than 10,000 words. So here are the examples of novel by Filipino authors. So I searched some of the example of novels. So we have the Noli Me Tangere by Jose Rizal, the Florante at Laura by Virgilio S. Almario, and The Banaag at Sikat by Lope K. Santos. So here are some examples of novel by the Filipino authors. Next, here are the examples of the novel written by the American author. So we have the Pride and the Prejudice by Jane Austen and The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks. Forms of nonfiction prose. So we have the personal narrative. When you say personal narrative, it tells true stories about events in person's life. Biographical narratives, accounts of a person's life written by someone else. So diary and journal entries are highly personal records of experiences, thoughts, and feelings. So diary and journals, a diary is a book to record events as they happen, while journal is a book used to explore ideas that takes place. And there are keys, grade 12, there are keys to successfully start a dialogue and journal. The first one is you have to be creative. You have to be creative. You have to be excited. You have to look forward to engage in this fun. You have to be reflexive and write freely. Don't hold back. Just write whatever pops into your head. So those are the keys in writing a good diary. Next po, we have the blogs. So blogs are online journals. So forms of poetry. So we have the lyric poem, the narrative poems, epic poems, and ballads. So let us identify each type of poetry. So lyric poem are highly musical verses that expresses the and feeling of a single person. It is also focuses on feeling or mindset. Next po, narrative poem are poem that tell a story. So in narrative poem, it has characters, conflicts, plot, and action. It is shorter than novel and short stories. Even in its limited length, it conveys much meaning with each word and line. So that is narrative poem. Epics, when we say epics, are long narrative poems that celebrate the adventure and achievement of heroic figure. Sa example po ng epics are the Mahabharata, the Beowulf, and the Divine Comedy by Dante, and the Paradise Lost. And ballads are song-like poems that tell a story, often dealing with adventure and romance. So this is the continuation of forms of poetry. So we also have the sonnets. When we say sonnets, it is composed of 14 lines in poem. Then haiku is a special type of poem from Japan. It consists of 17 syllables. So ang haiku po is a Japanese literature. It is arranged in 3 lines of 5, 7, 5 syllable respectively. So that is for haiku. Next po, free verse. So when I say free verse, it is a poems that do not follow any rhythmical patterns. So you are free to write or you are free to compose anything you want. So there is no rhymes pattern, rhythmical patterns. Next, types of drama. So we have the comedy and tragedy. So when we say comedy, it is humorous and has a happy ending. What examples can you give to the comedy? So example po ng comedy is the story of the Cinderella and Snow White. Meron siyang happy ending. Then tragedy is a drama form in which the main character suffers a downfall. So ano po ba ang example ng tragedy? So in Philippines, we have the Walang Sugat by Severino Reyes and The Love of Leonora Rivera by Severino Montano. So those are the two examples under tragedy. So these are the elements of story. So we have the characters, the setting, the plot, point of view, and theme. So we will define each one of them. What is the meaning of the element of a story? So first, the character. So character is the representation of human being in the story. So we have the types of characters. So we have the protagonist, the antagonist, static character, and dynamic character. When we say protagonist, it is the central character or the hero. In Tagalog, siya po yung bida ng isang story. When we say antagonist, it is the force working against the protagonist or the villain. Tagalog po, kontrabida. Static character, it remains the same from the beginning of the plot to the end. So ano po bang example ng static character? Example po is, if there's a best friend in the story, that best friend cannot change his or her characteristics. So dynamic character, it undergoes permanent change. Halimbawa po nito is, sa beginning po ng isang story, bida siya, mukha siyang bida, but at the end, siya pala isang kontrabida. So nababago yung kanyang character o yung kanyang characteristic. Next, we have the setting. So when we say setting, it is the time and place when and where the story happens. So very simple. So plot. So when we say plot, it describes the structure of the story. So structure of the story po ang plot. So we have the plot components. So we have the exposition, the rising action, the conflict, climax, falling action, and the resolution. So when we say exposition, the start of the story, situation before the action starts. So that is the beginning of the story. When we say rising action, it is the series of conflicts and crises that leads to the climax. So ito na po yung pinakang series of conflicts bago po maabot yung pinakang climax, yung pinakang turning point ng isang story. And the conflict is the problem of the story. Then climax, the turning point, as I said a while ago, and the most intense part. These are the scenario that we are waiting for in the story. Then the falling action, all of the action which follows the climax. The resolution, the conclusion, the tying together of all the threads. So if there's a conflict, there is a resolution. So the point of view. So when we say point of view, it is the position of the narrator in the story. So these are the types of point of view. So we have the first person, the second person, third person limited, and third person omniscient. So let us identify first what is the definition of each point of view. So first person, the narrator uses the pronoun I. The second person, the narrator uses the pronoun you. And the third person limited, the narrator can only tell the action of the characters. Third person omniscient, the narrator can tell even the emotions and thoughts of the characters. So let us differentiate the third person limited and third person omniscient. So the narrator, as I said, tell the action only of the characters, while the third person omniscient can tell even the feelings or thoughts of the character. Take note of the word emotion and thoughts of the character under third person omniscient, while in the third person limited, the action only can tell by the narrator. Next, we have the theme. So when we say theme, it refers to the underlying message of the story. So this is the message of the story. So we have the genre of literature and elements of fiction. So types of conflict. So we have man versus himself. When we say man versus himself, Tagalog, parang kalaban ng character yung kanyang sarili. Then, another type of conflict, we have the man versus man. So yung character, kalaban niya yung isang tao. Meron siyang kalabang tao. Then man versus society. So when you say man versus society, kalaban ng character yung lipunan o yung mga mamamayan. Not only himself and not only a man, but society. Next, man versus nature. So in this point, si character kalaban niya naman po yung nature. Halimbawa po, merong bagyo. So yung mga bagyo, yung earthquake, so kalaban yun ng character. Then man versus God. So ito na po yung tinatawag na anti-God. So ikaw ay against sa Panginoon, anti-God. Then types of plot. So when we say chronological, the usual flow of the story. Then the flashback, it starts from the future and go back to the past. And media res, it starts at the middle of the story. So in plot, the plot draws the reader into the character's lives and helps the reader understand the choices that the character makes. So pag sinabing chronological, ito po yung usual flow, yung flow ng isang storya. So it starts from the beginning up to the end. Yung flashback naman po, it starts from the future. So nag-i-start siya sa hinaharap, then babalik siya into the past. Then media res, it starts at the middle of the story. So yun po yung ating lesson 2.